Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's NBA Sharp Betting Breakdown here on the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. I am your host, Michael Fiddle. Today is Tuesday, December 31st. It is the last and final slate breakdown of 2024. I will be joined no better way to end the year and wrap it up than being joined by poker player, Drew Johnson. But before we bring him in, I just have one quick announcement before we get started, which means tomorrow's show is not going to be at 9 a.m. Eastern. We are all going to be up late, probably enjoying the festivities. Might not feel great in the morning, so we're not going live at 9 a.m. We're going to push that back 1 hour to 10 a.m. So for the rest of this week, we are going to be doing the show at 10 a.m. Eastern time and going through all of the games. We're still doing a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday show. However, it will be pushed back 1 hour because we are starting off 2025 at 10 a.m. Drew, quick question for you. Are you a reflective person or are you someone that looks forward?
Both, for sure.
Any 2024 reflections before we wrap this up and head on to 2025?
Probably, but it's early in the morning and I haven't really thought about it yet.
Can I hit you with mine?
Yeah, absolutely.
For so long in my own life, I've been like my dad has done the same thing for 30 years. My brother works with my dad, and he has since he graduated college, and he's older than me. So it's well over a decade for my brother to be in the same job that my dad's been in for like 35 years. I've bounced around a little bit. I've moved different places. I've worked different types of industries. I've been in physical therapy. I've worked in sports. I've worked for Bloomberg. I've been a sports bettor. I've never known what I was going to do for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Drew, I will be here in 5 years. That's what I feel. I feel like I moved apartments recently, and I feel like I'm going to be in this apartment for a long time because I fucking love it. It's in a perfect location. It's in this quiet little corner. The 2-bedroom setup is perfect for me. Life-wise, friends-wise, relationships-wise, I feel just in a really good spot going into 2025. Like I can continue what I'm doing. I don't really want to change much. I'm not like, oh, January 1st, I want to really get healthy. I'm very health conscious as is. I just feel in a good place in terms of like, if I'm reflecting back and looking forward, I'm like, let's just keep this train rolling. I know it's a new year, but I don't want to rock the boat too much. Let's speaking of which, I think they found Noah's Ark yesterday. They found a ship on a mountain in somewhere where it shouldn't be at elevation. And they're like, oh, if the world flooded and we found and there was a ship that was a mountain's height, we found it in the mountains.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Things you find on your Twitter feed when you're searching for drones and UFO stuff all the time.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to get through this show. Dilante says, Happy New Year's Eve. Woo! He says, don't think I'm going to make it here for 9 a.m. tomorrow. We'll see if he makes it for 10 a.m. Alex says, let's go Cavs. We get the Cavs taking on LeBron. As LeBron turns 40 years old, we will definitely talk about the King being 40 years old and if he's going to show up and show out tonight against Cleveland. Mr. Norman says, hope everyone has a successful 2025 sports betting. Thank you for saying it so perfectly, Mr. Norman. There's so much animosity between different sports bettors and different sides and people screaming at each other on Twitter and whatnot over this stuff. Holy crap. Like, worry about your own bets and root for other people's bets.
Yeah.
Like, I never,
it's not that difficult.
Ever root for the book. If I knew that Mr. Norman was on a side and I didn't necessarily like the side myself, I'm not like hoping he loses to stick it to the man. No, I hope he sticks it to the bookies. Always root for a successful 2025 sports betting. Rick says, Happy New Year from Sydney. 1 a.m. here, only awake for the show. Rick, Happy New Year to you over in Australia. We appreciate you tuning in. That is awesome for us to see that here on the podcast. Very cool how you are ahead of time so much from us right now. Jerry says, I think the Spurs will keep the streak rolling. I absolutely agree. I am on the Spurs today. We will talk about that. We also have a Victor Wembanyama clip to show on the pod from one of his dunks in the last game. Bomb.com says, good call on the Knicks over. Let's get it. That was a good one yesterday. It missed the middle by 1 point. Oh, Could have won both bets. Could have won an over. Could have won an under on the same game. Still happy because the over was the main position on that side. Taylor says, put in a free bet on Westbrook and Jokic to both had a triple-double. Had a weird feeling with the rust starting it was going to be a game. Could barely sleep last night. Did they both get
They
triple?
did.
Holy shit. Taylor.
Slow clap.
Put in the chat what the odds were on that. That is insane. That's really, really, really cool. Even Jerry's commenting in, nice. What are those odds pay? So we will share the FanDuel odds screen. We will go through today's games. I think we have 7 games on the card. I have 6 bets across the games. Looking very forward to this. I think it's a very strong card. It starts off with the Milwaukee Bucks visiting the Indiana Pacers, a matchup that last year was heavily controlled by the Indiana Pacers. And this year that looks a lot different because the version of that we've seen of these two teams recently, first of all, Pacers recently are starting to play good ball. But this season, the Pacers have been the least trustworthy team in the league. And the Bucks have seemed to have gotten rid of their early season woes, gotten rid of some of their Pacers woes, beat them in the group stage of the NBA Cup stuff. And they've actually controlled this matchup this year. If I want to pull up Bucks Pacers game log real quick and see who's won the last few. 2-2 over the last 4, but they only won this season. The Milwaukee Bucks won by 10. So then we look at the injury report because we know that Milwaukee's been in and out of the lineup with a bunch of guys, right? They had Giannis and Dame missed time recently. Here we only have Middleton listed probable, questionable Giannis Antetokounmpo. But if we look at the prop market, if we look at the way the line has moved, it seems very much set up like Giannis is going to play in this game. We're also seeing movement towards the over in the total a little bit. I remember seeing 229 last night, 230 on the screen right now. Giannis is a clear over player. Someone reached out to me asking that yesterday, saying, do you like the over if Giannis sits? And I said, no, I think Giannis is a clear over player, despite him being a good paint presence defensively. He pushes in transition offensively so much that he creates those quick possessions that lead to a higher scoring game overall. But we look at this, Drew. I played Bucks at plus 1.5, now at minus 1.5. I'm going to ask you, do we still play it? We're moving through the ones, and we're getting to the point where you need to win by 2 instead of any number on the ones now. Generally not an area that I care too much about where that line has moved and thinking, oh, it's not playable because it's moved through the 1. A 1 is not a significant NBA outcome. It is the 13th most common outcome over the last 3 seasons in the NBA. So we do not consider it a key number. Do you still play Bucks at minus 1.5?
I'd certainly consider it. Everything you said is bang on. Bucks are Bucks are starting to look like a real contender again.
Yep.
Playing well. Indy playing better recently, but I just think it's a pretty clear Bucks spot, and the line is clearly indicating that as well.
There's actually a live middle in the total right now worth mentioning. I have no plays in the total, and it does seem like the total, despite being, here's the thing, Drew. We are what? 7 hours, 9 hours from tip, 10 hours from tip. I don't know. I don't want to do the math.
6 hours.
It's early. Huh?
6 hours, yeah.
All right, so we're 6 hours from tip. No, it's got to be more than 6 hours.
No, they play at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Wow.
Yeah, the slate.
Because it's the holiday. Because it's the holiday. I'm like thinking it starts at 7. Okay. So first of all, day game makes me think under. So I do not want to back the over despite it moving towards the over, right? So I'm going to skip the total. Early start time to NBA. We've talked about this often. A 3:10 start on a holiday. These players are so much creatures of habit. They need to have the same pregame routine, especially Tyrese Halliburton, who has spoke openly about whether he naps or whether he doesn't nap. And Steph Curry told him he should nap, so he started napping and it didn't work for him. So like Tyrese this season has been so back and forth on his own pregame routine. And that's what he's calling out for his early season struggles. That of course we need to look there for like, what are the pregame routines of these players? And normally when you have early start times, the pregame routines get cut a little short and you see teams start to use the first quarter as a continued warm-up. you see slower pace, you see less efficiency. So for those reasons, day game unders become generally a good spot. We played into that on Christmas when a lot of these totals moved down. This one is moving up, so I'm just not going to fade the market. I'm not going to play against it in any direction. Milwaukee Bucks, I still think can be a play at minus 1.5. I definitely think Giannis is going to play, given the way that this line has moved. Toronto Raptors take on the Boston Celtics in Boston. We get a spread of 17, a spread that was out to 18 yesterday. Drew, we've had some of the longest spreads of the season recently, and we keep noting them here on the pod. We had a Wizards at OKC, I think open at 18 or 18 and a half and closed there also. And then
Covered.
No, it closed at 17 and a half and the Thunder won by 18. I remember that vividly. Of course, everyone should have been middling Wizards plus 18 with Thunder minus. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, of course.
The Wizards were also in Boston and played the Celtics and were 17 and a half underdogs there at open. Then we had the Raptors yesterday. I believe it opened at an 18. And my eyes were just, wait, what do I not understand for this game? Because the Raptors are a cover machine. They lose games, but they cover. So we go to the statistics here on FanDuel, the drop down menu. We see 19 and 11. That's the Raptors cover rate against the spread. 19 and 11 is so fucking elite. If you were blindly betting Raptors ATS, you would be raking in cash this year. And similar to what we've said in other spots when we reflect on these things, it often correlates with the line movement. So you might even be further ahead, right? Like if this was out to 18 and now it's down to 17, the line is moving towards the Raptors, getting shorter on the Raptors. And so now you have like less room to cover. And if you extrapolate that over the course of the season, you're probably 20 and 10, 21 and 9 on opening lines towards Raptors. We pull up the injury report for this game. We see every game, Boston lists a few guys questionable. They end up playing. RJ Barrett is out. Emmanuel Quickley remains out. So Barrett being out is probably the main decider in this one. Maybe Grady Dick is leaning more towards out than in. That's if I'm looking at a 17. But Drew, it is hard for me to imagine any team should be a 17-point favorite over this version of the Raptors that consistently plays so hard, that runs in transition through 4 quarters, and that tries till the end of the game despite the score because literally they're just out here covering spreads.
Mm-hmm. They don't have anything to lose, right? So, and so many of the players are young, just playing for contracts realistically, right? So when you have a team like that, they're just going to put effort in no matter what. And I think that's what we've seen all season. I'm really
been like one of the best
grabbing this.
Say that again.
I'm leaning towards just grabbing a half unit of the Raptors somewhere right now. If there's a 17 and a half available, I'm starting to see some 16 and a halves pop up. So might be the time.
Yeah, you've been the one that's on both sides of this. I just want to say this is kind of why I defer to your judgment here. On both sides of this, we're very early to the Raptors can cover any spread train. And you were also been nailing the situational spots for Boston of like, now I'm still playing Boston minus 12 here, right? And covering the right ones in that regard. So I was like, I'm going to defer to your judgment. Yes, 16 and a half is at BetMGM. There was 17 and a half there yesterday. They never reached 18. 17 at FanDuel, which was at 17 and a half. 17 flat at DraftKings, which was at 17 and a half, minus 112 to the favorite. I forget where I saw the 18, but it was definitely there. We get 16 and a half at some offshores, 16 and a half at Bet Rivers, minus 112 to the Raptors side. So yeah, definitely some Raptors steam coming in. A Raptors or nothing spot on such a long spread on a team that is fantastic at covering the spreads. I have no bets for this game. But again, another 3:10 p.m. Eastern game. Wow.
Yeah.
This another one that's been moving towards the over that I want nothing to do with that over.
Yeah, the fact that it's a 3 p.m. game just gives me more sort of confidence betting the plus 17.
Yeah.
right?
Agreed.
That's just such a big spread for an early game.
Completely agreed. If we're expecting all of that stuff that we talked about with day games, and this is a slower paced game, and we want to fade that. But again, total's been moving up. Total was 230.5 at open, 230.5 at open. I say 0.5 too much. I hope everyone understands what I mean. So now it's gone up 3 points, and then you're trying to. It's a messy situation. This is a don't bet it, probably don't watch it game situation. The Los Angeles Clippers take on the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio as the home favorites. The Spurs have been rolling recently. They lost 1 by 2 against the Wolves, but they've been a cover machine dating back towards Christmas. I think they've covered 3 or 4 in a row at this point. Now they're taking steam as a home favorite. Open was 3, going out to 4. The Clippers on the other side playing the second night of a road back-to-back, playing against the Pelicans and having a fourth quarter come from behind win yesterday, winning 116-113 over the New Orleans Pelicans. A very pace-up game for the Clippers and Pelicans yesterday. High scoring, high physicality, high possession total. And then you go back on the road, fly down to Texas, take on the Spurs on the next night after a kind of a lengthy contest against the Pelicans. Bad spot for the Clippers. I played Spurs -3. I played the under at 217.5. I will look up best numbers in a second, but I believe strongly this is a Spurs spot. I believe strongly this is an under spot. The Clippers have one of the slowest paces in the league, and the Spurs defensively have been one of the teams that most frequently holds their opponent below 100 points. Now, I'm not saying the Clippers are going to get kept below 100 today, but it definitely seems as if this is a Spurs and under spot given the line movements early, Drew.
I would say so too. The Spurs have beat the Clippers a bunch this year already, right? I know they beat them in LA once that we were on for earlier in the season that we were on for a money line, right? Back when nobody believed in the Spurs, and we can very clearly see that the market has shifted its opinion.
So, no, that was a Spurs Rockets situation. They've played once this season, and the Clippers won by 9.
Oh, I've got that bad. Oh, my bad.
I do want to. We do have one highlight to show, but I do think a little revenge game for Chris Paul against the old Clippers squad.
Hey,
listen, I just think this is such a tough situational spot for for Los Angeles that it's actually worth playing into San Antonio. I don't love playing into these spots where I find Spurs is now like a lengthening favorite, right? We're playing them as a big dog and asking them to cover some spots. That's different than asking them to cover as a home favorite and win by 4.5. However, still think there's market value on this because we're looking at the board. We have 4 here at FanDuel and 4 at Circa. Those are the only 2 at 4. 4.5 DraftKings, MGM, Caesars, 365, Fanatics, Bookmaker, the offshores. We could check Pinnacle right now.
4.5 at Pinnacle. I'm looking
and
right
4.5 there. So it would seem as if remaining and still playing a -4 is a viable play. And if I tack on the total situation and look there, you can get the 217.5 at BetMGM, Caesars, Bet365 as well. The direction that I played, 216.5 sitting here at FanDuel, 217 at DraftKings, but a lot of 217.5 remaining on the board. So again, those would be the 2 spots that I would look and say I still think are playable in this game. Now, last game that the Spurs have, I was watching this live. You were watching this live.
Oh my God.
And we immediately both reached out to each other at the same time. And it was just like, did you
see that?
I saw that. Did you just see what I saw? And it was very reminiscent of Michael Jordan in the Space Jam movie when he stretches his arm and it goes the whole fucking length of the court and he dunks the ball after having a sip of Mike's secret stuff. And Wemby just reaches his arm through and has one of the most insane dunks. Let's run the highlight. Wemby with his lengthy stretch arms.
Paul gives it up to Wembanyama. Wembanyama step through. Oh my goodness! Go gadget arm.
It's still nuts.
Lefty.
He just like
He goes under Julius Randle's hand, like arm, who's outstretched. Lefty offhand goes under and then back over and still dunks it. The reason why people
he's
give
standing at the
Wemby
hash mark.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why people give Wemby some shit for taking too many threes is because he's possibly foregoing 3 or 4 opportunities like this for chances at 3-pointers. Now, the way that he's been shooting the 3 recently has actually been at a pretty fucking good clip, where you would say, okay, really any shooter can be taking 10 threes a game if they're shooting over a 35-36% clip. And he's been doing that recently. We look at what he's doing in the paint and the efficiency there, and you actually start to wonder, should he be doing more in the paint? Should he be posting up a little bit more? It's so hard to know. Does he take the body shots? Does he try and, pound in the paint a little bit, or does being on the perimeter, is it still efficient enough, and is it less wear and tear on his body that he's going to stay healthier for longer? It is like, pick your poison. It's like so hard to know what the right answer is of like, should Wembanyama play more under the basket because he could do these things, or should he stay out on the perimeter because a 3 is worth more than a 2 and he's very efficient at it, so you're looking at true shooting percentage. It is whatever. This man can do no wrong. Both options are good options, is what the real answer is.
Yeah, this is definitely not a Giannis situation where he's shooting 2 or 3 threes a game and you're just like, never shoot a 3. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Doc Rivers took that out of Giannis's game.
Yeah, and really well done from Doc Rivers there, by the way.
Yes.
Very, very. I think that alone has probably shifted the Bucks sort of spreads like 2 points, 3 points a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, with Wemby, the 3 is just such a good shot from him. Like, he has a really nice stroke and it's unguardable. Like, completely. It's like a Kevin Durant pull-up 3, So I don't mind him taking them. Especially when like some of them are just backbreaking for the other team. Like, imagine you're facing Wemby. You've thrown up a couple of layups at him that he's just blocked out the gym, and you're like, how did he get that? I don't understand.
He had
right?
10 blocks. He had 10 blocks 10 days ago.
Oh, he's averaging 4.7. That's nuts.
Let me read this recent Wemby game log from December 21st. 30 points, 4 of 8 from 3, 7 rebounds, 10 blocks. The next night, 26 points, 6 of 13 from 3, so only one shot below 50%. 8 blocks, 9 rebounds. The next night, 42 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 blocks. In the Christmas game, going 6 of 16 from 3, I think, which is still 40%. The Nets game, 19 points, 6 blocks, 3 of 6 from 3, shooting 50%. Then the Timberwolves game where he's going against Gobert, so a little bit of reduced efficiency, 4 of 12 from 3, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. The man is absolutely insane, and he's just 21 years old. And so I don't even know what's to come with this. It's absolute insanity.
Yeah, we're just watching literal greatness unfold in front of us.
This is what I think Kareem looked like. This is what from the stories I hear, this is what I assume Kareem Abdul-Jabbar looked like on the court. Or Wilt Chamberlain. I think it's more Kareem than Wilt. But I never go back. You'll never catch me saying who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, because I was fucking 3 or 4 years old when MJ was going on his run the first time, then went to baseball, then came back. Okay, I'm 7, 8 years old. Yes, I was watching basketball as a 7, 8-year-old. I wasn't understanding it. I wasn't like understanding the game. I wasn't taking in what's the skill level of this player. So I haven't gone back in time to watch multiple playoff runs from MJ to make a decision and a comparison, whatever. I don't compare players that I never watched. I will say LeBron. I will say Duncan. I will say Kobe. I will say Jokic. I will say Curry. I'll say Durant. Those are probably the 6 best players I've ever seen in my life. And what I'm seeing from Wembanyama matches the stories of what I've heard from what people who watched Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would say. So I very much look forward to the rest of his career, and maybe the videos and the highlights that become merged when things start to look very similar. Okay. Next game on the list. So we have Spurs -4, under 217.5. Both I think are still playable before we wrap this up. Spurs -4 can be found here at FanDuel. The under 217.5 is available multiple places, not FanDuel or DraftKings. DraftKings does have a 217. And then Bucks -1.5. Let me just quickly see if there's a better line, because I believe that is still playable as well. Oh, and offshore just moved it to 2.
Nice.
No, -1.5 across the board, -105 for that at ESPN Bet to pay the least odds, -1, -110 at Hard Rock if you have access to Hard Rock, -0.5 at Circa if you have Circa. Other than that, -1.5, -108 at DraftKings. So places where you could pay reduced vig for this, but it definitely seems like Bucks is still taking steam. Spurs can climb out to 4.5. And a point of movement towards the under still viable in that Spurs-Clippers game. Let's talk about the Timberwolves taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. We are in OKC. We have a total of 217 that has actually climbed up from its open at 216.5. And we have a spread at 6.5 on the OKC side. Was universally 7.5. I played the 6.5. It moved out to 7.5. And now it's come back to 6.5. So let me pull up the injury report for this game. Boom, there it is. Rob Dillingham out, Alex Caruso out, Chet Holmgren out. So maybe Caruso being out, that's probably the news that has come in, moves this a point towards the Wolves, and a little bit of movement towards the over would make a lot of sense if we remove Alex Caruso from the OKC lineup, playing about 25 minutes a game. Insanely important to their defensive effort, filling in the gaps beautifully. Caruso is probably one of the best defenders in the league in filling in the gaps, playing help side defense. His on-ball perimeter defense is elite, but his really ability to maintain position in the gaps, in the passing lanes, probably amongst the best in the entire NBA. Dillingham and Chet Holmgren have remained out for each of these teams, so that's no new stuff there. Drew, I played the 6.5. I played the under at 216.5, but that's now at 217 and a flat 6.5. Let me ask you for your blanket opinion on this game, on seemingly some flat numbers here.
Don't like the Timberwolves at all right now still. They needed every bit of effort, luck, skill to get a 2-point win against the why can't I think
Spurs.
of it? Yeah, the other night. And it's been a rough go. That the one thing that I do like is how well DiVincenzo's been playing for them the last, say, week or so. Nice to see him come on. Great effort. There was one play I remember watching that game where he missed a 3, a wide open 3, and he was shooting very well that game already. Got a 3 so wide open that it's just one of those ones you're going to miss because you have too much time to think about it and you're not focused on making the shot. You're focused on how open the shot is. He then sprinted the entire length of the court and got a block.
It was
on
insane.
A layup attempt. Yeah.
He was so fast.
It was a blur. He was running so fast that after he made the block, he landed like underneath the basket and had to take 4 steps into the cameras. And really high effort play. Very clear that he's sort of finding his groove with this team, finding his role. And they need him because they don't have much perimeter scoring other than Ant. We've kind of noticed the last 2 weeks or so, if Ant is not going off, it's going to be tough for the Timberwolves to win. And he was, I want to say 1 for 6 or 0 for 7 from 3 that game, something like that. And it was one of those spots where I'm watching it live and I'm like, Timberwolves are going to have a hard time winning this one. And then DiVincenzo made sure that they got enough offensive effort.
I've also been noticing McDaniels start to take a lot more threes because you're saying they lack that perimeter punch, and they paid McDaniels. Like,
Yeah.
he's on a pretty fucking big like a big fucking contract. They need him to not only do what he can do defensively, but to start opening up the floor offensively and creating some space. So he's actually been willing to shoot it. Now looking at it, I'm like, if McDaniels is going to actually start shooting the ball from three in the early part of that, I actually want to fade the Wolves and play unders because it's pretty inefficient shot, right? It is slow in the shot clock. It is swing. Okay, McDaniels will get up to three, and he's probably close to 30% ish. Let me ask you what you think of this situation, Drew. So I am half a point on the wrong side of the total, and there are 217.5 showing up. So maybe a full point away from the total. Normally, I would say if you are 1 point or half a point behind an NBA total, it's not worth dumping the ticket. It's not worth betting off of the ticket just because NBA totals have enough variability that you'll still win a minus CLV bet more often than the percent hit take that you will just assume by automatically dumping it. So generally, you'll still ride this and say, okay, hopefully the variance just goes my way. There are times when that becomes an actionable reason for you to dump off. Is Caruso being out an actionable reason to dump off of either side, an OKC minus 6.5 or an under situation here worth dumping? My gut says no, because I trust guys like Cason Wallace and Isaiah Joe and those people to step up defensively and fill the system for the OKC side. But I'm just wondering, check me on my process here. Is the reason to dump off a ticket actionable enough in this case?
It might be in the unders case. I definitely don't think you have to worry about anything on the spread wise. To me, Caruso is definitely an under player currently, as he's not shooting well.
He's also shooting terribly.
Yeah, exactly. Offensively, he is a net negative lately. And defensively, he's such a net positive that I think that affects the totals.
So I'm looking at it now. Some offshores that I reference have a 216.5 minus 115 towards the over, and Circa has a 216 minus 110. BetMGM has a 216 minus 115 towards the over. So I could dump it. What I would probably do is choose the over 217 minus 108 at DraftKings, save the 7 cents, and run the risk that if this does land exactly at 217, there is no Polish middle, but there's a chance to push one and lose one. If it lands at 217, you'd push that and you'd lose the under. So it's not a total dump off, but at value, you're not exposing yourself to a Polish middle and you're paying less for the proper line. So if I didn't have access to one of the 216.5 like Circa, I can't bet at Circa because I'm not in a place where they're an operator. But I would look towards the rest of the spots and say that the 217.5s are starting to come down. So I'm going to hold off, considering the sharpest books remain at 216.5 and continue to wait this one out. We get another question from the chat. Fiddle, what's the best app to message you on? Twitter. Last night, there was a 5-point middle when Minnesota OKC opened, and I was thinking about you. I played the under 222.5 on Fanatics, while FanDuel had 215.5. Holy moly. Well
all
done.
Of the money. The money.
Leah, let's talk this through. If you see that, you immediately, first of all, go look at other books and try and understand where the consensus point is. Is every other book, because I saw 216.5 as the open in a lot of places, and maybe FanDuel opened at 215.5. So if you see 216.5 as the open consensus, with Fanatics being 6-7 points off market, you immediately put down a max bet on the under 222.5. Now, that's not how much, that's not betting your full balance if that's a max bet. That's the max of what you're willing to risk on a specific game. So it might be 5 units in one position. That's probably what I would do when I see that. If I saw that, not like Fanatics is taking 5 of my units anyways, but if I saw that and I had the ability to put down 5 units, I would go do that immediately with Fanatics. And then I would probably hit the over 215 immediately also because of the disparity. I wouldn't hit it back all the way if you knew the consensus point was more 216.5, you would hit it back some of it, 30%, 50% of where you want to get to with that. And then you would wait and continue to evaluate the market to see if you want to ride it, to see if you want to play more back later. If you're at a point where those are the only two numbers on the board and you don't know what consensus is and you don't have an idea, then you just play them equally. Play them for both 5 units in each direction immediately. Have an equal exposure in both directions. And what you're really doing is risking 0.5 units to win 10 units on a 20-1 middle. If you do the math, 5.5 to win 5 on each side of a line where you can't possibly lose both. You could only win both, win one or lose one. Then you're looking at 0.5 units risk to win 10. It is a 20-1 position. It is incredibly plus value. So if you like your dumb fucking parlays where you're stacking together a bunch of things and you're getting 14-1, throw that shit in the trash. Look for these line disparities, play them against each other at the same time, and have a 20-1 ticket with massive positive value. Rick says, Taylor, if you don't have his WHOP, then message him on Twitter. He responds pretty quickly. I do. I have my Twitter DMs as notifications on my phone. We also have the WHOP. A lot of these plays that I mentioned are given out in the WHOP. So San Antonio -3, the under 217.5, Milwaukee Bucks +1.5. So if you want to get ahead of those spots for the most part, I know we're half a point behind the line on OKC Thunder Wolves, but for the vast majority, I think I'm clearing closing line value at an 85% clip.
Easily.
The best place to do that would be joining the WHOP. You could find that link in the podcast description, in the YouTube description to this video, or in my Twitter bio. It is $100 a month to sign up. You would get access to all of these plays in real time. However, if there ever is a losing month, then I do not charge and I make the entire next month free. So it's a little bit of win with us and be happy that you're paying, or not win with us and not actually pay at all. Peasy says, why doesn't Fanatics take your bets, Fiddle? And he laughs. I'm going to assume he knows the answer with that. All right, let's move on. And first of all, it's just, I want to talk about this. I hated when PointsBet became Fanatics. When it was PointsBet, I was such a big supporter of PointsBet. I loved betting with PointsBet. I would happily play the other sides of lines with PointsBet and essentially scalp their positions with this exact situation where if we said the under 216 was consensus, I would happily bet the over 216 at PointsBet because they would take my money and they would open lines early and there would be this market disparity. And so you could even use them knowing, okay, you might be more correct, but I could scalp off of you because you're putting lines up early. Then when it became Fanatics, the lines actually got, I'm going to say the lines actually got sharper, not because I think Fanatics is sharp, because I think Fanatics moves on air respective to sharp books and just mimics whatever the fuck they're doing, maybe a minute or two later, but it generally updates pretty quickly. And they don't really take much of my action at all. So I hated that transition. All right. Cavaliers are facing the Lakers in LA. LeBron has turned 40 years old. King with a crown. Lakers plus 4.5 at home. We had Cavaliers open as a 2.5 favorite. So now 2 points of movement towards Cleveland. The over-under at 228. I believe that has moved up or down. Let me quickly check. Okay, so both is the answer. Open was 27.5. Would end up reaching as high as 230, 231, 231.5, and then has come back down 229, 228.5. So a little bit of both movement over action and under action. This has reached a consensus point where it's it went up, it met its resistance, it's come back down, and now it's flat across the market at 228 or 228.5. There's probably not enough closing line value you could project in either direction to actually have a plus expected value ticket. And so for that reason, I would say avoid the total. Where I'm looking is the spread, Drew. However, I would be fading the market because I would be looking Lakers or nothing in this spot. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers on the second night of a road back-to-back after taking on the Golden State Warriors yesterday and now traveling to LA and taking on the Cavs. Is LeBron going to get, like, LeBron's a narrative player. I'm going to just be honest. I'm not a narrative better. I'm LeBron's biggest fan, but LeBron is a narrative player. LeBron plays better when he goes back to Cleveland. There's a reason why Bronny was still on the active roster when they went to Cleveland earlier this year and then went to the G League shortly after. There's a reason why LeBron always gets up when he plays against the Heatles. There's a reason why LeBron on Christmas is a big thing. There's a reason why LeBron is so good against the Warriors. The man knows when and where to get up for certain spots. And I feel like being 40 years old, going against the Cavaliers, playing at home, is the Sports Center headline tomorrow. Right off the thing, he's still doing it at 40.
Yeah.
Right? LeBron at 40 drops 40. LeBron at 40 drops 30 and 12. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't bet it because I don't actually think there's value in the prop market where it sits. And I think the line is moving the other way, Drew. But holy shit, do I think LeBron has a monster game tonight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The other thing to remember is this is the third game in 4 nights for the Cavs and a travel spot. I know it's not a far travel to go from GSW to LA. And for the most part, they blew out the Warriors last night, right? So a little bit of rest down the stretch.
Did you see the halftime score?
I think so. They were up like 20 already, right?
8. The halftime score was 46, 46 to 38. The Warriors had 38 points at halftime.
What is happening in Golden State right now? Like it's to a point where it doesn't make sense, right? How are they this offensively inefficient?
And Steph was active. It wasn't even a Steph's and you recently got Schroeder, who's offensive juggernaut.
Yeah, like who has not played to his, like he was putting up 20 and 5 a lot of nights in Brooklyn and looking half decent doing it. Like it's not like they were losing. They were winning games. And now he's gone to Golden State and his stats have been cut like further than in half. Like,
and meanwhile, the Nets are desperately trying to lose games, and yet they're still beating the Bucks without Schroeder, and they're remaining incredibly competitive. And they should have beaten Orlando.
Almost smashing the biggest middle of my life.
Oh my God! Yes, we can talk about that if you'd like to, but we don't have to.
No, I'm good. I made money on the game. That's all that matters. But it should have been. Right, not should have been, but I had a chance at making a lot more.
Cam Thomas had his feet set, turned to the basket, took a 3 in what was the most sweat-free spot for you because, like you said, you made money off the game regardless. But if that one shot went in with 0.8 seconds left at time of inbound to release, there was nothing else that was going to happen in this game besides one more shot. And if that shot went in, Drew was going to middle. He was going to hit Nets money line. He's got all these positions bounded up. Of his major under still comes through to clear the whole card for him and make that a winning game. But oh my God, if Cam Thomas made that shot, if I was a rich man,
I'm pretty sure it was the difference between. I think I ended up netting 2 units on that game through props and hitting a portion of a middle because I had under 209.5 and I had over 202.5 for 1 unit, and then I had played back at 205.5 the other unit, and I was 3 units down, 2 units up, etc. Would have been probably a +7 +8 unit game had that shot gone, and it was half an inch from going.
It literally rimmed out. Ian said specific skills are required to play with Curry ball, in my opinion. Yeah, I do think there's an adjustment time to the Steve Kerr system and playing next to Steph and with so much movement all the time. So I don't think that's a reason to score 38.5, but I do think that's reason for some of the Schroeder slow start there. Drew, do you know what song where that song comes from that I was just singing? If I was a rich man.
No doubt. I definitely know where that's from.
What is it?
No Doubt.
Is it No Doubt?
Yeah.
It's originally Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, maybe No Doubt did a rendition from it.
They did a rendition, and I'd have all the money in the world.
Oh, if I was a wealthy girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If I was a rich man, is Fiddler on the roof? Ask me where I'll be tonight. On the roof. All right. Let's talk about Memphis Grizzlies against the Phoenix Suns. Grizzlies now a 4.5-point dog. Now I'm seeing that and thinking Ian and I are probably not going to this game. We last night, me and Ian are chatting, and I'm like, "Do you think Booker plays?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, he's been getting up shots." And he tags me in the video from the beat writer, going just at Fiddle's picks underneath the beat writer, showing the video of Booker taking shots at practice yesterday. So I respond to Ian. I am like, "Hey, if Booker's playing, then I really think we should go to this game. I'm wondering if we should get tickets." Ian's in the fucking Philippines. I am not in Phoenix. But I'm not going to tell the beat writer that we want this for a gambling angle. I want him to think that there's two fans that might go to a game based on the injury report. Like as the one thing has been spoken about, like, oh, we can't do this whole rest thing, load management thing, all these injury reporting things because fans who want to go to the game. So I tried to assume fan who wanted to go to the game role of like tagging Ian things and asking him questions in this beat writer's comments going, well, if he plays, then I really think we should go to the game. No response. And then you see line movement the other direction. I'm going to go with D-Book is closer to out than in. We're also seeing movement towards the under at 236. That was 238 at open. So I'm going to say that Booker is unlikely to play in this spot. I thought it was a Sun spot. I played it very small for like 0.3 of a unit. And then now it's going back the other way. I still think no Ja Morant. Yes, Kevin Durant in Phoenix. I think Phoenix can win this easily regardless, so it's okay. Not going to dump a ticket that I'm a little bit behind. That's I still feel okay about it given the spot. Home favorite against a team with an injured star. But yeah, this I thought Booker was going to play. Ian had to split the injury report. Are these all the people that are out for Memphis?
Yes, sir.
So Morant, Santi Aldama, Jake LaRavia, Zach Edey, Marcus Smart, Brandon Clark, Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, and his name's Yuki, I believe. Kawamura.
Yeah.
They're all out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have the Shelikins in Memphis. You have a full fucking team on the injury report, and yet the line's moving the other. What?
Yeah, I don't get it. I also don't understand how we think this game is going over.
I don't. Personally.
Like I don't see there's 237s on the board. Memphis has half a team. Like those are like shots, legs are going to be tired by the end of this one. I don't care who you are, right? Like if you have a team that has to play essentially a 40-minute game each person, by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, those 3-pointers are coming up short, right?
Yeah.
And Phoenix can't score regardless typically, right? Like the games they're winning right now are low-scoring games.
They are. So Royce O'Neal is out on the Sun side. Grayson Allen is listed as probable for this game, so you might even get Grayson back, and then Booker is still listed as questionable. So like, if you do get those guys active, this line closes back at 6.5 or 7 the other direction. So this line movement eerily confusing to me, but I think this is a Sun spot. I would even play it at the 4.5, going the other direction. Play it small, but I think playing it at the 4.5, considering the injury report, it looms large as a good spot for Phoenix here.
I think this total is just super juiced right now, considering how many totals Memphis has just completely obliterated over the course of the last month or so. However, the last game they played, they went under, I believe. And it does seem that the injury bug has bitten them, and I expect that to affect their totals for the next week or two. So if you see these lines juice, like I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be taking an under 237 somewhere as soon as we finish the pod.
Right. Or wait until Booker or Grayson Allen is deemed active, right? And then maybe it goes back up to 238 or whatever. So watch that. But like looking at this Memphis rotation player, Scottie Pippen Jr., Luke Kennard, Desmond Bane, Jalen Wells, John Conchar, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jay Huff. Conchar and Luke Kennard were rumored to be in the trade to the Nets for Dorian Finney-Smith 48 hours ago. So just like, you're going to play
have enough players?
Guys that were rumored to be in seriously engaged per Shams in trade talks.
Yeah.
And then you're missing Ja Morant. So you like, it's Triple J and Bane right here. And you're asking them to float you against a healthy Durant, a healthy Beal, a potentially active Booker, Nurkic in, Mason Plumlee in, Grayson Allen likely returning. I really like the Suns. It disagrees with the early line movement, but I really like the Suns in this spot.
I think some of the early line movement we're seeing is probably just people not paying attention close enough to the injury report right now. I would imagine that most of the sharp bettors are in the same boat as us, waiting for news on this one.
Yeah, that is wild. I would say
maybe some
people
fake line
listening,
movement.
Phoenix minus 4.5 would probably be a strike point, but small. I have a 5.5, and I'm not going to deviate off of that, and I'm going to cash it. All right, wrapping up the card, Phoenix minus 4.5 is a look. The under is a look for Drew in this game. Let me find the best possible number for that really quick. 236.5 at DraftKings and a lot across the board. 237 at an offshore, 236 flat at Bet Rivers. 236
coming
and a half
up
is probably going to be your best bet.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm going to wait. I'm seeing line movement upwards still. But I'm right there with you on both sides. I want to fade the market on this one.
Michael Jordan in the comments, Jumpman, says favorite spread for today. I'm going to say it is Milwaukee Bucks minus 1.5. I still think is the most playable spread, especially as we're seeing that move to -2 on the board, and it has not crossed through key numbers. Spurs -4 still definitely playable with a lot of 4.5 showing up everywhere else. Oklahoma City Thunder -6.5 was a small play for me. I have actually 3 bets that sit behind the market today, all of them very small, but I'm very surprised to see that. It can't always be perfect. And 3 bets ahead of the market. So I normally do better than this. This line movement today, a little bit confusing to me. Hopefully it comes through and finishes with a good or end of the year card. I will pull up the WHOP bets right now. 6 bets on the card. Bucks plus 1.5. Thunder minus 6.5 is flat. OKC Thunder under 216, 0.3 units. Spurs -3. Really like that. Spurs under 217.5. I think that's strong and available as well. And the Suns -5.5. Those are going to be the best bets on the card. Drew looking at a few spots that he's mentioned as well. Looking at LeBron props, 8.5 assists, probably too high for me when it's juiced towards the over. The points plus assists at 32.5 was an angle that you might want to look towards. I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith is going to play tonight for LA. Let's look that up because that would impact it because that's the same position, same minutes. I don't see it. I see nothing. So check on if DFS is playing before you actually go bet. Trade pending. Shake Milton and DFS. Okay, so DFS not going to be playing today. So I think LeBron James props could be a look. Happy New Year to everybody. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. So many great people in the comments. We hope you guys continue to tune in. We'll be doing the show tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. So 24 hours from now, we will be starting the show. We'll be breaking down Wednesday's card. Drew will be with me again. We look forward to an awesome year in 2025 here on The Advantage and within our sports bets. Good luck to all of you in whatever you're doing. Hope you have a great night. Hope you a great holiday. Hope you get a little New Year's kiss. I'll be kissing my dog, Bronny, because that's probably the only girl that I'll see tonight. All right. Thank you to everyone here. Some words from Patrick Beverly. Peace.
Y'all subscribe to my podcast by y'all asking all these questions.
Don't forget to subscribe to the pod. And if you're a kid, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Subscribe to the pod.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to the pod. to the pod, man.
Good, those are good